Hey, Lisa. Hola. Calles. Welcome. Seeing you reminds me it must be 6 p.m. on January 25th at in the year 2021. Hello, Jackson P. Smith. How are you? How are you? Welcome, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. Nope, 6:01. I blew it. 6:01. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Um, and now on with the show. Feel free to ask any questions you want at any time. And I reserve the right to ignore everything you ask, everything you say. All I ask is don't start talking to each other because you screw me all up. All right. So, uh, hi, Debbie. So, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I wasn't going to talk about it, but it's almost impossible. And here's the reason why. Here's what I want to not talk about and why I'm going to talk about it anyways. It's almost utterly unbelievable that in the year 2021, after a couple of hundred years of practicing and experimenting and tweaking this thing we call a democratic republic, that the Republican Party leadership totally and completely abandoned the law. Utterly and completely abandoned the law. I didn't want to have a political show tonight, but Mitch McConnell and his minions have decided two things. One, not to cooperate with President Biden under any circumstance. Two, they're not going to admit that Donald Trump, while he served as president of the United States, orchestrated, manipulated, and facilitated an attack on the U.S. Capitol. Absolutely unfucking believable. So the honeymoon lasted about 3 days. Because I tell you that if Mitch McConnell does not somehow lose his power, if the Democrats, and already the Democrats have been unable to put together 50 votes. They had to come up with 50 votes to take control of the Senate, and they don't have it. That 50 Democrats, they don't have 50 votes. Figure that out. Okay? So what I'm telling you is my audio, something wrong with my audio? Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Because I'm getting this message that my audio is not working. Oh, maybe that's not it. Hey, Mark and Ann, maybe that's not what Chris meant. I just saw a thing said audio. Anyways, back to what I'm saying. You've got the Trump administration now no longer in power, manipulating the entire Republican Congress, representatives, and Senate. And what has happened is there is a complete, total, utter abandonment of the constitutional principles. If you can't fucking fire Trump during or after he's committed an act of treason, what the fuck can you do? How can you purport to rule the country if you will not hold yourselves accountable? What the fuck are you thinking? And to the Democrats who have consistently ran under the Democratic flag and gotten them reelected, fuck you. Go to the Republican Party, you pieces of shit. Manchin, bye. Just purge. Just clean your freaking house, man. Democrats, you're such a lame bunch of just incapable. You're just incapable of orchestrating and running the United States government. You keep failing every freaking time in modern history when you've been called upon to lead the country out of some bullshit, you come up short. You came up short under Clinton, you came up short under Obama, and you're going to come up short under Biden. Now, that's not to say that we won't get some stuff done and we won't reverse some of the crazy stuff that went on under Trump. But if you have a Congress that won't even consider impeaching the man that orchestrated an attack on the Capitol of the United States, up to and including doing nothing while you knew that the crowd, so you didn't plan it. You didn't plan it. That's okay. You were sitting at the White House. You were watching. You were getting phone calls. You were watching the live feed. You saw they were trying to hurt people. You saw they were attacking cops. You saw they were trying to get to Pence. You saw they were trying to get to Pelosi, and you did nothing. Hold you accountable. Hold McConnell accountable. Hold McCarthy accountable. Hold Hawley accountable. Hold Cruz accountable. Get every fucking one of them. Democrat Party controls both Senate and representatives. Jackson, do you know what control means? They don't control shit. They don't control the Democratic Party. They don't control the Senate. They may control the House of Representatives by a slim margin. You must have 50 votes to control the Senate. Assuming you have the vice president, you have to have everybody vote, all 50. If you got 49, you ain't got shit. The Democrats cannot and do not, as of this moment, 6:07 p.m., do not have 50 votes. They have already had multiple senators say they're not going to vote to push forward the Biden proffer for the stimulus package, and they've already said they're not going to vote for impeachment. So how is that controlling the Senate? They don't control anything. That's the misnomer, that there is control because your party has so many members in it that occupy the Congress. That's not control. Control is Mitch McConnell, who makes his people vote and unanimously, you know what I mean, unanimously, right? When the only guy that's been able to deviate has been Mitt Romney, okay? And they didn't need him because they had more than 50 up until recently. So Mitch McConnell brings a united front. Tell me the time that the Democrats in the Senate, not the House of Representatives, when did they control the Senate? When did they use their influence, their balance of power to their advantage? I'm all ears. Feel free, Jackson, to type in an answer to that. I'm happy to read it. But as you're preparing to do that, please be advised, I'm not a fucking rookie. I didn't get my law degree out of a Pop-Tarts box or a Cracker Jack box. I practiced the Constitution for 33 years. And these motherfuckers are fucking them. They're screwing Biden completely. So Trump will not be held to account. That's my opinion. My opinion is they're going to walk this right out. My opinion, they're not going to cooperate with Biden. They're not going to give him the packages he's looking for. Mitch McConnell calls himself the Grim Reaper. He says he's not doing a power sharing agreement because the power sharing agreement would mean he would give up the committee control. So until the Democrats get ugly, Mitch McConnell has found a way to maintain control over the committees in the Senate. So that's not control. That's not Democrat control. That's Mitch McConnell. And if he's going to be a traitor, if he's going to be a participant, a supporter of all these things that have been gone wrong under Trump, in order for him to maintain power, he needs to be kicked to the curb. You should be furious. You first and foremost, everybody should be furious with what the Republicans are doing at this very moment. And then you should look at those Democrats who are unwilling to support Biden in order to bring about a 50-50 split, which invokes Kamala Harris as the vice president. If there's a Democrat not willing to do that at this time, after what we've just been through, then the Democratic Party needs to kick them to the curb. Bernie Sanders needs to be putting sergeant in arms, man, because he ain't playing. He ain't playing at all. You see, I'm a progressive liberal, but I'm willing to put my progressive aspirations on hold. I'm willing to support the Biden presidency 100% at the moment. I'm willing to forego my agenda. My agenda's not even close, right? United Healthcare, we're not there, right? Okay? So I'm willing to forego that. Let's support Biden. But that would mean the Democrats would have to support him. That would mean 50 senators who call themselves Democrats have to vote unanimously to pass these bills, and then Kamala has to break the tie. They're already purging, the Republicans are already purging the right wing. They're purging Cindy McClain. They're purging Jeff Flake. They're purging Cheney, Liz Cheney. You look at the political history of the persons who are presently being purged. These are solid, right-wing, conservative, not even close to centrist Republicans who have wielded power and deviated from the Trump song. And as a result, the Arizona GOP is censoring its members that are not going along with the party line, the Trump party line, not the Republican Party line. There is no Republican Party line. In other states, in Wyoming, they're going after Liz Cheney. She's to the right of Attila Hunt. Make no mistake, she's a Cheney. Okay? If you're going to purge your right wing, what the freak do you people think is left of this party after you get rid of the solid right wingers, and what you've got left is the party of Trump? What have you learned in the last 4 years? You all learned exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have to get specific. And you know darn well that persons that identify themselves as Republicans also know exactly what I'm talking about. They've made a decision. They have decided that their conscience is not as strong as 73 million votes. They're unwilling to sacrifice the millions of votes that they perceive that Trump brought to the election in order to vote their conscience. Or maybe I should say, they don't have a conscience. I don't know that business people like Trump more than Biden, by the way, Jackson. I think that's, by the way, several of the largest Republican or political contributors in the United States have declared, and we'll see if they do it, to withhold funds from all 127 congresspersons who voted to try to usurp the Biden presidency on January 6th. They've also declared they will not contribute. I believe it was 6 senators. They will not contribute to their campaigns. So there's a lot of business people. Now, there are business people who are extremely short-sighted and think that by Trump not closing down the country in order to address the pandemic was somehow taking their interest at heart, Jackson. And that wasn't true. It was never true. What we know now from talking to economists on the left and economists on the right is that by not shutting down the pandemic, by taking a federal initiative and masking the country and getting enough vaccinations and doing everything that we needed to do, we've only prolonged the pain in the economy. And the more business people who may have thought they support Trump, I mean, if you want to vote your pocketbook and you had a lot of money, Trump was the way to go for a while. If you want to vote your conscience, if you want to vote democracy, if you want to vote this fragile experiment called democracy, then you don't support Trump. Trump has done more in 4 years to unravel this thing that we've worked on for over 200 years. This fragile ecosystem that no other country has been able to sustain for long periods of time, okay? Right now has been in the process of being dismantled for 4 years. And if McConnell has his way, I promise you, and you're welcome to kick my ass and make me eat straw if I'm wrong, they are trying to demolish the balance of what you would consider democracy as outlined in the Constitution in order to load the courts and to destroy the Democratic Party's plans. It is nothing but pure power. It's got nothing to do with ideology, and it's got nothing to do with the Constitution. It's got nothing to do with the balance of power, checks and balances. It's all about McConnell gripping the throat of Biden and any other Democrat that's gotten in his way. And he had Trump to do the choking for him. And now that Trump is gone, Mitch McConnell, the most powerful man in the country right now, has decided to stop Biden dead in his tracks. Fuck you. Pieces of shit, man. It's just my opinion. I'm done talking about it. Motherfuckers. If you're willing to concede white supremacy as now a new underlying principle of the U.S. government, if you're willing to embrace misogyny, homophobia, and xenophobia as integral to your party's continued success at mangling the government, then call yourself a Republican today. Whether you're running for dog catcher or president, identify yourself as a Republican, and what you're doing, whether you like it or not, whether you want to confess or not, is you're supporting a structure that by definition now must embrace crazy conspiracies, the worst of all being that Democrats are selling organs of children. But really, the fact of the matter is, Trump was the white man's last grasp of power. It was necessary in order to stop the surging political power of Hispanics, blacks, and others, okay, as was anticipated under the Obama administration, albeit unsuccessfully. So take a look at the Republican Party. Look me in the eye, motherfuckers, okay? Go look at the Republican Party and tell me what person of color is in that Senate calling himself a Republican and defending the Constitution. Because there's not one motherfucker there. Not one man of color who is either defending or has the brain power to grasp just what defending right now would mean. Why do you think that so many people voted for Biden? Why do they insist that 80 million votes is worthy of their efforts to overthrow? You know, your party, Mitch McConnell, you know, your party, you, McCarthy, Cruz, Graham, you know, your senators made efforts to overthrow the government through legal maneuvering and to deprive Joseph Biden of assuming the office of the president. That was a lawless grab that you backed away from with the assault on the Capitol. But rather than holding anybody accountable, I can play you the speeches, but I'm not going to. Everybody, go look up. Go look up what Kevin McCarthy said when he condemned the rioters who were which he said were instigated by Trump. Look at what McConnell, and now look at what they're saying today. Look how long the honeymoon lasted. 3 days. Okay. There is a crisis in the government of the United States. I promise you that. I promise you there is a crisis being precipitated at this freaking moment by a cabal, an evil cabal of Republicans led by Mitch McConnell. Probably Lindsey Graham is also leading it. Cruz, Hawley, some of these other Cotton, they're new to the game. Okay, they're just learning the ropes. McConnell likes to call himself the Grim Reaper. I heard today, I was listening to Ari Melber, self-designated Grim Reaper. What do you think that means when you're the leading senator? If you think, this is my last thing, because Jackson was under the impression and he didn't respond to me when I said, explain to me what he means by control the Senate. Because I rebutted the statement that the Democrats control the Senate. I don't believe they do. I said it yesterday that they didn't control the Senate, and I say even more so today. There are too many defections from the protocols being proffered by Biden. Anyways, I rode my bicycle today. I wonder if that posted, and I'm still getting messages every day from the Democratic Party. I'm going to block them. Okay, I've been letting them text me, asking me for money and all this, doodads on my texting thing. I'm going to block them. I can't identify. I can't identify as a Republican by any means. And I choose today not to see myself as a weak-kneed Democrat. I think they haven't got much backbone. I think Bernie Sanders has a lot of backbone. I think Elizabeth Warren has a lot of backbone. And there's others, there's others. They do tend to be progressives. And as progressives, they seem to have lowered the hammer and said, we got to have change. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. The Obama administration, in many ways, was an unmitigated fiasco in terms of moving forward any sort of progressive agenda. It didn't harm the progressive agenda so much as it just didn't move it forward, right? And the same was true under Clinton. Clinton was very reluctant to move a progressive agenda. So, and both of them had times where they controlled the government. They had the votes. Biden doesn't have the votes, man. So while my people tend to be progressive liberals, the fact of the matter is, I don't think there's room at the top of the Democratic Party for this kind of, I don't think there's the stomach for it. I don't think they will use the rules of the Senate, which would take unanimity. Okay, if you want to go nuclear, you got to have everybody on board. All 50 senators, Democratic senators, have to vote as a unit in order at this time to usurp Mitch McConnell. And from every report that I have ferreted out, everybody I've talked to who's a student of politics is clear that it's pretty unlikely that the Democrats could get 50 votes in the Senate for anything significant, other than maybe car wash day, or Girl Scout cookie day. Seriously, I'm furious. I'm furious. But I rode my bicycle. I rode it on the Legacy Trail. I posted some pictures. I hope they post. I got more I'm going to add to it. It was really nice. There's these two waterfalls I went by and I stopped. I mean, the waterfalls, they're like brick structures or stone structures, and water pours over and creates a waterfall. And it rained last night, which means the water rushes because wherever it starts from, it works downhill. And it got here and it was lovely. It sounded lovely. It looks lovely. The temperature was right. I was able to stop whenever I wanted and just take pictures or take videos. I was able to just really enjoy being outside, It's winter time. I don't know what it's like in Chicago. I don't know if they're having big fun. But I'm having big fun in Texas. Somebody, Eva Losa, who lives in Chicago, had a picture of the two of us last winter. Was it last winter? Yeah, last winter. No, I don't know. It was one of these winters, 2 winters ago, I guess, when my mom was sick, and I had to go in January to look after her. And so I had to go up there. I left before Chicago had its historically coldest day ever. But the week preceding was ice, snow, and miserable cold. I stayed at my sister's house. I had to drive every day to the care center, the nursing center where my mom was. And at some point, I think that was the same trip. I don't know. Anyways, maybe not, because that time I just stayed with my mom. Anyways, this woman, Eva, and I, his friend, we took pictures, and she just posted showing me and calling me out for being cold. She called it Chiberia or something like that. And I'm like, yeah. It was, I don't like cold, man. Between hot and cold, I typically going to take hot. Going to ride my bike. I like to go out, shorts, t-shirt. I don't have to worry about taking layers off or putting layers on. In summer in Texas, you go out in very little clothes and you stay in very little clothes. I just keep moving. I take a lot of water. I'm always hydrating when I'm in summer in Texas. I take snacks. In fact, tomorrow or one day this week, I think I'm going to pack my lunch and go back on the Legacy Trail because there's a lot of nice places to just sit, relax, meditate, eat, whatever. I'm game. Thank you, Debbie. So when I first started this podcast today, according to Facebook, we had almost twice as many people, and then I went off on a binge, and half the people left. Look at, I'm blocking the Democrats. Boom. I'm not declaring myself not a Democrat. I'm just telling you, I got a lot of problems being an occupant of the Democratic Party at a time like this. I hope against hope that the days ahead will just prove me wrong, that we will see somehow this unity that's absolutely essential to putting this country back on what I would consider the good foot, a good track. I'm sorry. I got some very strong opinions about what a constitutional republic looks like, how it behaves, how it performs its congressional functions, how it performs the executive branch functions, how the judicial branch operates. Because first off, I went 1 through 8 Chicago public schools, including civics classes. I went to Chicago public high schools, 2 Chicago public high schools, 1 Chicago private school, and 1 school in New Hampshire that was a private boarding school, which had really small classes and really smart teachers. And again, they also reinforced for me how this triumvirate, how you have the judicial, the executive, and the legislative branches operate. And then, lo and behold, I went to law school. So 2.5 years of reading hundreds of pages every night. And everything that you do in law school doesn't have directly to do with the Constitution, but most everything, even though it's a different area of law, has as its underpinning the Constitution. Whether you're taking property law, criminal law, of course, whether you're taking injury law with torts, contracts, a lot of it is derived from what we call the common law of England. And then you have the common law, and then you have the legislative stuff. So the legislature creates statutory law, right? Common law is typically what was handed down from the hundreds of years of English law and English rule. The only state, get this one little footnote, the only state that does not adhere in any way to the common law of England is Louisiana, which still operates. Its common law is the Napoleonic law. So what they don't have as statutory is based upon Napoleonic law. So nobody in their right mind who didn't go to law school in Louisiana is going to rush over there to practice law, because you're going to get your ass handed to you. So my point is, I think I know what I'm talking about. I think I have a handle on how this is supposed to look, even when it doesn't look the way I want it to look. Or no, that's not true. Even when it looks most unpleasant to me, in that my agenda is not getting any kind of progress. And listen, when Republicans have controlled the presidency and the House, the Congress, then my agenda goes to crap. You dig? And I get it. Ideologically, I'm going to lose ground while they're in power. And then the pendulum was supposed to swing. And then a Democrat gets elected. And then maybe they control the Congress. And then they begin to move the ball down the field that way instead of back that way. But now, for 12 years, Mitch McConnell has seen to it that nothing progressive moves forward. Nothing. You dig what I'm saying? Nothing. There's been no give and take. Don't confuse yourselves, folks. Don't be confused by the news. Don't be distracted by those that are having fun. What's going on in the federal government is that we have a president that needs unanimity in his party. And if he doesn't get it, find out for yourselves. Look up what happens when you don't have the Congress. You don't even have to control the Congress. You have to be able to negotiate. The Democrats have been unable to negotiate one bill during the 4 years. They got a stimulus package only because the Republicans knew they had to do it. So they got one stimulus package. You can get shit else. Okay. Under Obama, Mitch McConnell made a vow. He was going to stop. He stopped the judicial appointments so that when there was a transition to Trump, there were over 400 unfilled judicial positions, is my understanding, because the Congress had not approved them. That's a lot. Guess who got to fill them? Yeah. Trump did, with McConnell's help. It's advise and consent. If the Congress won't negotiate in fairness, I don't mean negotiate like we'll kick you in the teeth and then we'll give you what you want, but we'll give you only what you want. It won't be what you really want. It'll be what we think you can have. It's not right, man. It's not right. So I may delete this video sometime later tonight, because this isn't what I want, man. I want people to do the right thing. I want people to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and We didn't win enough congressional power to guarantee that the Biden agenda gets fulfilled. And all you that I know here, I don't know Jackson's proclivities. You tend to be humanistic. You want to know that Biden's admonition that he wants to unite us, that he wants to diminish the polarization, that he wants to push through a fair agenda, that he wants to help people get health care, that he wants people to get a stimulus package, that he wants to get us all vaccinated. These are good ideas that require a lot of money. And all of a sudden, if you haven't paid attention, nobody's agreed to it except a handful of Democrats. Ain't that a bitch? Think about it, man. You know, I don't know what we expected. I know I didn't expect much because I knew that this 50-50 thing was hogwash as far as people talking about control. It is control if every time you go for a vote, your 50 Democratic senators stick together through thick and thin. Then you have what you call control, because Kamala Harris gets to break the tie. It's not. Now, here could be something unusual. Somebody like Mitt Romney or somebody will break away and vote with the Democrats and make up for the Democrats they're missing. But you understand, for every Democrat that bolts, you got to have a Republican. You take a look at the Republican voting record and you tell me who you think is going to come on over to the Democratic side, because they purge you, man. They go after you 10 minutes after you even say something like, I'm going to vote for impeachment. They throw you out of the party, baby. Bicycle, bicycle, I want to ride my bicycle. I want to ride. Thank you, Lisa. And by the way, I saw that. I know it's been sitting there. I'm just so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. I'm not depressed like I was when Trump was in power. Believe me, if Trump was still president, all would be lost. Literally, all would be lost. For me, for my country, I would be planning to leave. I'm hopeful that we will find enough of an agenda to move us away from the Trump era. But all the security officials in the government and outside the government, if you want to do the exploration, look at the Southern Poverty Law Center. They do a whole thing on hate groups. Hate groups are growing, and QAnon is in the House. By that I mean the House of Representatives. QAnon. Several people who actively identify with QAnon are now voting members of the House of Representatives. Whoa. Let me explain what that means. People that would drink the Kool-Aid with what was his name? Jonestown Massacre, are now in the House of Representatives, and they are openly agitating against any push to suppress this QAnon craziness. They're pushing back. They're not being kowtowed by the leaders of the House of Representatives or the leaders in the Senate telling them to chill. They are all the QAnon people. They're a block. They're sticking together. They're the up-and-coming power, unless, as Steve Schmidt said yesterday, crush them. It wasn't yesterday. Today is Monday, Saturday. Steve Schmidt. All right. I'm going to call it a day, man. I want to ride my bicycle. That's all I can think of. Get out on the bike. Take some more pictures or walk with your friends. Commune with nature. There's so many other things to do right now. By the way, at approximately 6 p.m. Dallas time, 7 p.m. Washington, D.C., the House of Representatives deliver unto the Senate the papers for the impeachment of the former president of the United States. And it's the charging sheet, it's the indictment. And accompanying the indictment were several congressional representatives, Democrats, who are fairly good at the law, and they will be prosecuting the case against Donald Trump. Yeah, Trump's not the president of the United States, but he still has some influence. See, until McConnell denounces him and breaks what's left of the Republican Party away from Trumpism, then what we know from everybody who was a Republican, Steve Schmidt, Steele, the man who was former head of the Republican National Committee, look at Elizabeth Newman, all these rising stars, are leaving the Republican Party. So if you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe them when they tell you that what's left, the vestiges of the Republican Party, is really now some backward form of Trump Party. We all hoped that they would abandon that. We did. We hoped that 80 million votes would result in a renunciation and a declaration that strongly pushed the Republican Party away from Trump and towards a conciliatory, unifying, depolarizing path for this country. This country can't move forward if those people that represent the Republican Party have decided they will not allow it. So let's do some metta. Let's pray for these people. Let's pray that they find their conscience. That's so stupid. I say that. I agree with Michael Steele. They asked him about this. And he said, you people act like you're surprised by any of this. He said, for 4 years, this has all been very obvious. It's all been obvious. So what cloud am I on? Or what cloud was I on? I don't know. Putang saranang kachami, Dhammang saranang kachami, Sanghang saranang kachami. I take refuge in the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, and the community of Buddhists. Putang saranang kachami, Dhammang saranang kachami, Sanghang saranang kachami. These are the Pali words. I take refuge. In this refuge, I will find acceptance, a recognition of reality. I will be present, and I will operate on a level of wholesomeness that may have been previously unavailable to me until I embraced these Buddhist concepts and principles. May I be happy, healthy, and free from harm. May I be free from anger, anxiety, and fear. May this practice of metta bring me greater peace and comfort. May my mother and father and all my living relatives and all my friends be happy, healthy, and free from harm. May they find the path that frees them from suffering, brings them peace and comfort. And to those persons I find difficult, whatever ill will I harbor, I release these persons in this moment so I may send them kindness, goodwill, without interference. May they be happy, healthy, free from harm, living their lives in comfort and peace. And then to all living beings throughout the universe, be the recipient of our collective wish that all living beings be happy, healthy, free from harm. May all living beings live their lives in safety, comfort, and peace. Satu, satu, satu. I know. Y'all are like, I hope Ken chills out, huh? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lisa and Mark and Ann and Joan and Kathy and Lisa and Debbie. I appreciate the good wishes, and I maybe I'm not as upset as I sound, but once I start talking about it, I did get a little wound up. So tomorrow I will bring you better news, even if I have to make it up. Even if tomorrow I have to fake the news, I'll bring some better stuff. Meantime, click on the link and listen to Queen sing Bicycle Race. Peace out.